Hi everyone, I got this ask the other night and I wanted to take some time to respond to it directly. I feel like it addresses some of the concerns that you guys have been writing to me about, and I wanted to give you some history of the documentary, some background, and explain things a little bit. I'm going to do this, I think, just in one long take, so you're not seeing anything edited, you're not seeing anything cut out or missing. This is me just talking. I'm just going to mute my computer and my phone, and away we go. Hi Tim, after reading your last post, I feel like I need to write to you. I'm one of the older fans and was so excited when you first popped up on my dash announcing that you want to do this doco. We were shocked when we watched the one on Channel 4 and so grateful for your idea. In the beginning, your post sounded like this doco was more or less a given, but just in the early stages. There was never a real doubt that this wouldn't be happening. You sounded sure of the idea and sold it like this was happening. Fast forward a couple of weeks and you asked for our financial support. Still understandable. The idea of the doco got bigger and bigger. Maybe it was always that big for you, but we were just learning what exactly you were planning, so it made sense. But then something happened that made me and a lot of my friends draw back. Suddenly, there was a certain goal we had to reach through donations, otherwise the doco won't be happening. That was new. This has nothing to do with support anymore. That's us financing your project. You even answered one of the previous anons that the big money chunk would come from us. I am not diminishing your working hours and creative input. I'm just talking about actual money right now. I feel blinded and under a lot of emotional pressure. Give you money or I won't get that positive doco. For me, it feels like you deliberately left out important details to get us involved and eventually to finance this project, which could be your big break. I talked to many of the other older fans and most of them agree with me. There were many discussions going on about you. The consensus among us is that you sweet talked us into something that turned out to be something different. Although I am not going to donate for said reasons, I wish you all the best and cross my fingers for you to be able to do that doco and for it to do well. That's tough to read. Okay. I started the doco in response to the British GQ article and to what I heard about the Channel 4 documentary. I haven't seen it. I don't really know if I intend on trying to watch it, but it was mostly that British GQ article. And so I feel like the response to me setting up the Tumblr page came from that a little bit, and so that was quite an enthusiastic response. When I first started the Tumblr, I was really clear that I was exploring the possibility of doing this documentary. It's never a guarantee when you're working on a creative project. You can't guarantee things like this or anything that we do. Everything that Driving Monks does, everything that every production company does is in flux. The thing that I think turned this documentary into something a bit more feasible is when we did the survey. The survey was an opportunity for me to find out whether there was interest in the documentary, what the interest was, what people wanted to talk about, what the most important thing to cover was, how big the fan base was. And I'd made some estimations about how big the fan base was, but I needed to get a sense of what the level of involvement would be. When we originally talked about the documentary as a production company, not on Tumblr, but when we originally talked about the documentary, one of the things that we talked about was, could we do this just via Skype? Would we have people send in their interviews? That it was all open, it was all just possibilities, nothing was set in stone. We were just investigating what we might need to do. I floated with my production partner, Jen, I floated with her that we might need to dedicate some money towards this so that we could go. We started talking about how much money we could contribute. I've never publicly talked about how much we are planning to contribute, and a lot of it is dependent on how the campaign goes. So it was all exploration, it was all investigation, and it was all finding out whether or not we can make the documentary. When we did the survey, the response was overwhelming. We got way more responses than we ever thought that we could get. And when I looked at the statistics and averages of the dollar amounts when people said how much they would feel comfortable contributing financially, it was well over $40,000. The lowest amount, if we took the lowest number from each category, so $1, $5, $10, etc., the lowest amount that we would have raised according to the survey was still over $30,000. The maximum amount was over $50,000, $40,000, $30,000. When we decided to do a campaign, because that wasn't part of our original thinking, we'd started having a think about it, but when we decided to do the campaign, it was on the basis that the survey showed that that was the level of interest. We chose an incredibly small amount of money in comparison to what people said that they would be comfortable contributing towards making a positive documentary. That amount was $15,000 at a minimum. We were aiming for $50,000 on the basis that that's what the survey data showed that we could raise, but we were aiming for a minimum of $15,000 in order to make the documentary. That's where that's come from. We didn't originally intend to do a crowdfunding campaign. The fandom response to the idea of the documentary was that a crowdfunded campaign would raise a certain amount of money, which will enable us to do the documentary in a particular way. That's where that came from. We didn't come in with ulterior motives. We didn't come in trying to fleece the fandom. That's not my intention. There seems to be, at the moment, and it's upsetting to me, but there seems to be at the moment this idea that if you don't contribute to the campaign, I'm going to hold the documentary hostage in some way. Like I'm only interested in doing it if we can raise this amount of money. That's not the case. I'm really interested in this idea, and I'm really committed to the idea. If we don't raise the minimum amount of money, the documentary can't happen in the way that we've planned it. That doesn't mean I'm not committed to making the documentary. It might mean I have to do another possible campaign because it is a significant chunk of money. But when I've got 2,500 people telling me they're willing to contribute towards the creation of a positive documentary, I don't know what else to do with that information other than say, are you still willing to contribute to this campaign to make the documentary? With that money, the documentary can be better. We can go more places, we can afford to do more things. Both Jen and myself can afford to take the 6 weeks off paid employment that we would need to take in order to be able to make this. We already are letting go of work so that we can make this. We're already losing money on this documentary. Now that's fine. That's our choice. That's what we've chosen to do. I don't want to seem like I'm complaining about it. I love what I do. I love that I get to tell stories. I'm in an incredibly fortunate situation where I can do that every now and then, and I don't want to sound like I'm complaining about that. But that's just the reality, is we're already losing money, so we're already paying for the documentary to go ahead. This idea that if we don't raise the money, that I'm going to stop being interested in making this documentary, I find that upsetting, because I hoped, and I was really trying to demonstrate that I'm invested in making this documentary. The campaign is almost a separate thing. I understand how intrinsically linked it is, but it's just this campaign so that we can make a particular version of the documentary. If the campaign fails, which is looking possible, we don't know yet, but it's possible that it will fail. If the campaign fails, we go away and we reassess. We go away and we talk about how we can do it. And we go away and talk about what ways we can make this documentary, what amounts of money Jen and I can set aside. We're already doing that. We already have those conversations. And that's just a conversation that we have on November 2 after the campaign's closed. At the moment, the campaign is open, and so the conversations that I need to have are you able to make a financial contribution? There's no expectation, except what the survey showed us, which was that there was interest in donating to the campaign. I fully expect that not everybody is interested in donating to the campaign, and I have no expectations that 100% of the people who follow the Tumblr or who engage with the documentary, because I hope, and I'm pretty sure, that there are more people who engage with the documentary than are following me on Tumblr. That's really lovely, but I don't have an expectation that 100% of those people will want to donate to the campaign. And that's why I'm trying to come up with rewards that everyone gets, like doing the song. Everyone gets that if we can reach certain milestones. I'm trying to encourage people. It's really important that we hit that target while we're in campaign mode. At the end of this, we reassess, we have a look at what happened, and then we make decisions about how to go forward in the documentary. It is a large chunk of money, and I recognize that it's difficult for everybody to contribute. But as I've said, in that ask that I got previously in this video, Driving Monks is investing. We're setting aside money. We are setting aside time. We're giving up work. We're giving up an extraordinary chunk of our time. The movie cut out, so this is going to be a long one. It stopped recording. Look, we're giving our time, we're giving our money, we're doing everything that we can, but there has to be initial outlay, and that's just travel expenses. We can't just drop $5,000 on round the world tickets and the car hire and the accommodation. We don't just have that available. If we can collectively raise that, then it's available. We can do that, and then we can continue to fund the rest of the documentary because we can spread that cost out. This is a large upfront cost, but then there's a tremendous cost which is ongoing. And that's what we meet. That's what we can do, along with our creative energy, along with our skills, along with our everything else that we can bring, which you acknowledge, and I do accept. You did acknowledge that, and I really appreciate that. I really hope that you don't feel duped. That is not my intention. You guys have already been duped too many times. You've already been cheated and abused in the media and lied to and misrepresented. And I really sincerely hope that you don't think that I'm trying to do that. It's not a scam. I just want to make this documentary because I feel like it's a story that needs to be told. And if you can help me with that, that's awesome. And if you can't, I really appreciate your best wishes. I'll talk to you all again soon.